I arrived in Fall River under a sky the color of old pewter and checked into the Lizzie Borden House with a suitcase full of batteries and bravado, telling myself this was just another haunted B&B stay for the channel. Another chance to see whether the legend of the axe murder mystery still had teeth. The manager greeted me with that careful, Undertaker-adjacent politeness people practice around grief museums, slid over a paper ledger that creaked like a hinge when I signed, and tapped house rules in a pamphlet yellowed at the edges. Quiet after 10, no provocation, speak kindly, and if you hear toys, don't follow the sound. Then, with an apology that felt rehearsed, he added, "If you're here for Lizzie Borden room experiences, you might ask the house nicely. If it answers, do not be clever." Upstairs, the corridor smelled of lemon polish and library dust, the wallpaper a forest of faded leaves, the floorboards learning my weight and adding it to their archive. When I unlocked my door, room 9, corner-facing, allegedly active adjacent, a polite little draft curled around my ankles like an invisible cat, and then vanished in a hush that felt like a mouth closing. I set the tripod by the mirror, a night vision cam pointed toward the bed, a wide angle watching the hall, the EVP recorder with its tiny red dot bleeding slowly in the dark, and whispered an intro for the inevitable edit. Overnight Lizzie Borden House, haunting real Fall River B&B ghosts axe murder mystery. Comment if you'd sleep here alone. Then I killed airplane mode, checked the batteries one last time, and at 10:12 p.m. hit record. The room had that prim New England neatness, an iron bed frame, a quilt cut into tidy geometry, and a dresser with a bowl and pitcher that had never poured water for me, but somehow seemed to have made me drink already. When the house finally settled, you'll hear it on the audio, a sigh through the beams, a small crack like a knuckle. The only thing left awake was whatever remembers. "EVP Session 1, I whispered. "If anyone is here, I came to listen, not to take." For a long breath, I listened to the radiator cough into the dark. Then I said the thing every skeptic says before they learn skepticism has a curfew. "Do you want me to leave?" Nothing answered except a tiny tremor in the closet door, a slow inward inhale of old wood. At 10:43, the hallway answered for it. 3 knocks on my door, not timid, not furious, but counted, as if someone practiced this moment. I froze, halfway between bed and camera, and said I wouldn't open up unless they gave me a sign. The doorknob rolled under an unseen palm, metal to warm, and then stopped. When I later scrubbed the audio, I found the voice tucked inside the noise floor, papery and misfolded. "Room 11, it said. "I'm not in 11, I whispered, but the recorder fluttered again with that thin voice. "Room 11. Then, far down the corridor, came the softness every guest swears about when they search children, S-room toys move. A single wheel squeaked, rolled, paused, rolled again. "House rules," I told myself. "Don't follow toys," then followed, because I run a channel, and the little red light in a haunted house tastes like applause. I cracked the door, and the hallway's runner, dark as dried cherries, swallowed my steps. Brass numbers marched down the baseboards, 9, 10, 11. The last door bore a shadow that couldn't belong to anything except the idea of a person. "Permission?" I asked, and the knob under my hand warmed. The door opened an inch, then 2, and with it slid a smell like pressed violets stored with iron pennies. Room 11 had the same geometry as mine, but the bed leaned toward the door like a listener. On the dresser, a china doll that faced the wall in punishment. When I stepped over the threshold, the door closed behind me without slamming, the way a mouth closes to keep in a secret. "EVP Session 2, I whispered, palms open. "Who asked for me?" The recorder wheezed a phrase I would not hear until later. "Hungry?" The quilt dipped near the foot of the bed, little knee shapes pressing down, and the dip became a delicate face-shaped indentation. The closet door slid open. Inside hung a single dress. The hem lifted a breath above the floor as if the person inside had risen on tiptoe. "Do you want me to read?" I asked, and the bed emptied itself. In the window's glass, my reflection was not alone. Behind me, half a head shorter, a small hand lifting to put a finger to my lips. "Shh." The recorder would later rasp, "Father's sleeping." The counting began, carried by a broken music box motif in my head. 1, 2, 3. At 19, the shade snapped up. At 32, something in the attic stamped with anger. At 40, the dress lifted higher. At 41, the closet closed. At 42, every door in the hall knocked once in a perfect, impossible chord. I spoke to the empty bed, said I would leave an offering, that I would tell the story true. The bed shuddered, and a small toy wagon rolled across the hall, nudging room 11's door with a gentle dudunk. In my ear, a whisper of breath that wasn't "Tamine" poured its weight into one syllable. Again. I returned to my room, left a cup of milk on the dresser, and sat awake. The knocks came again from inside the closet this time, followed by the wheel whisper of that wagon. The dolls shifted, almost regarding me. I asked if they wanted a story, and the recorder coughed. "Yes." I told one about a girl who learned to fold silence into obedience, but I did not say her name. Around 2:13 a.m., a second voice entered, older, made of stone scraping stone. "Who is that?" I asked. The first voice returned with one leaf-dry syllable. "Father." Then quickly, "Sleeping." Around 3 wire, the counting resumed, and this time I counted along. By 42, no door knocked, as if the house had borrowed my pulse and rested. At dawn, the room returned me to my bones. The footage is thin, audio alive with whispers, a quilt dent that forms and unforms, a doll indexing toward me. When I whispered goodbye at the threshold, the recorder captured 3 very small knocks that matched the first 3 exactly. In the lobby, the manager poured me coffee like absolution and said that people who search paranormal at Borden House ask for proof, but the house prefers signs that don't fit on a thumbnail. Outside, Fall River warmed from pewter to tin, and I filmed my outro on the front steps. If you made it this far, you're braver than I was. Would you spend a night in room 11? Comment, stay, or go. And if you want more,